Hey, good morning and welcome to the Water Cooler. Today we have a very special guest that is also going to be featured on the State of Small Business, which is coming up on April 30th from 8 o'clock to 8:30, where every year for the past 11 years, we have had area experts come in and go over their industry and what insights small businesses need to know. So today we're really lucky to be able to have Rhett Mouche. He has been in the industry for over 48 years in the Savannah area. And Rhett has also been presenting with us for the past 11 years. So he is here to answer some questions. And we also have Lou Phelps with the Savannah Business Journal. She is the media sponsor for this really big event and day. And we also have Joe Marchese. So years ago, 11 years ago, Joe and I actually founded this event. And we will be presenting this year at the End Market Arena. We found out that there will only be 350 seats available here. So first come, first serve. Registration opens on April 1st and it closes on April 22nd. So anyhow, Lou and Joe, also welcome.
Thanks.
Hey.
Hey, Rhett.
I had a lot of technology problems.
Hey,
Here
hey,
I am,
Joe.
at the wire.
Hey, no worries, no worries. So, Rhett, you have already submitted your report. We're really grateful for the information, and we are here to take a really deep dive into the state of small business in the real estate sector. So, overall, tell us about what you're seeing in the industry here in Savannah.
Well, I think we're very fortunate to be here, especially as a small business community. I mean, we have the Georgia port, which has been growing like crazy over the past few years. I think Marjorie, we saw our first growth segment, really about 11 years ago. I remember the report was that we were reducing vacancy. I mean, right in 2012, I think we had like a 30-something% vacancy in the industrial sector. And of course, what's happened over the years. But you ask where we are right now. The port is still growing. We saw phenomenal growth last year and the year before, and the supply has increased, and the growth for the development of warehouses and the industrial sector has slowed somewhat. We've got a higher vacancy than we had last year. We had last year a vacancy of less than 1%, and that has increased now to around 8%. And so, we've got more space out there, but the demand is still there. Construction is still going. We have the I-16 corridor, which continues to develop for warehouses and for industrial parks, and also down 95 too. So we're growing in that particular sector, but we have some other areas that are really surprising in the growth. One of those is the office sector, and I think every year for the past 11 years, even before that, when I had to give a report on the different sectors of commercial real estate in Savannah, the office sector generally lasted about 15 seconds because there was really no changes in it, and we had the same vacancy factor, very, very little product coming on. So, that has changed, and we have a vacancy in the office sector of around 2 to 2.5% at the max right now. So overall, Savannah's seeing growth in all different sectors. We have people that are moving in. We have retirees that are really starting to amount for be a big sector with our population. And then we also have remote from home workers that are coming in that are not seeking office space, but they have an office within their house, or they may be sharing an office somewhere, co-working facility or whatever. Those are starting to come back somewhat with the office growth. So we have all areas that are showing that demand and that growth, and not even to mention the Hyundai influence that's going to have with only 23 miles from Savannah. So, we've got some challenges with high interest rates and some uncertainty with the economy, but we've got strong demand being here in Savannah, every sector.
So Lou and Joe, jump in, ask questions.
Yes, Rhett, how do you think we're doing on the housing supply for the fact that we're going to have 15,000 workers? It's not just Hyundai, but it's the 7 or 8 tier 1 suppliers, which are not all going to be 22, 23 miles away out Route 16. They're in Chatham, Effingham, Bryan, even Liberty. And what is that, how are we doing in the housing sector? I mean, you drive over to Pooler, the apartments are coming out of the ground like weeds. Over that way, but also in Savannah, you look at, what I thought was wetlands, bless our heart, but off President Street, you've got this huge apartment complexes coming up in what were supposedly wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they're building there, but they are. On East Broad, you have, huge apartment complexes just infilling everywhere in Savannah. But are we going to keep up with that housing supply for all these employees and this population?
Lou, that's a great point. Great questions on several different fronts down there. As far as the President Street, that's a very kind of a complicated answer on how they're doing the apartments there. But there was a drainage issue that I understand that the drainage got addressed. The city was involved, and I think was a partner in expanding the canal. So
right.
I don't think they used mitigation credits there, but I think they were able to work with the Corps of Engineers and be able to go ahead and do the construction on that. But what that does is shows you, the demand, for apartments in areas. A few years ago, I was privileged to work with Ian Smith on Mariners Grove, and we took a piece of property that was an industrial property a little bit further out that basically converted it to multifamily. That's the first time that anything on President Street. And I mean, it just made records as far as with occupancy and everything going in there. But as far as staying up with the demand, we are really not. I mean, we have got all this demand, and Lou, you made the point of the thousands of people that are going to be coming in addition to what we see in the growth with the port. To kind of, I kind of like to relate back, over the years where we were. And this past week, I was on the south side, matter of fact, around the St. Joe's Hospital area. And when I first started out in real estate, I was in residential. And one of the areas, I was not from Savannah. And the way I started out with building my business was knocking doors, in the 70s. And one of the areas that I spent a lot of time was Wilshire. And so I was out near St. Joseph and in Wilshire years ago. Generally, there was several houses on the street that was for sale. And, I spent a lot of time doing it and sold a lot of houses in Wilshire. I spent 45 minutes, I think, riding through Wilshire, Colonial Village, those areas over there. I did not see one for sale sign out there.
Yeah, I know.
And I think that is a great example of the demand, that we have, Wilshire, Colonial Village, other areas are all the same. There are no for sale signs because the demand is
what I'm hearing from realtors, single family homes, very low inventory. And nationally, even as last month, where they're still telling us that nationally, the pricing of our homes is running about 12% under the national average. So if you're from New York or Denver or whatever, it looks pretty attractive here for pricing. But on the apartment side, if you go to apartments.com, there's like 2,200, 2,600 units available for rent right now. And I think also one of the things I'm seeing is because SCAD has built so many dorms for those who are in small business, whether they were doing restoration or cleaning or rental management. Now that SCAD has opened so many dorms, it's taking a lot of pressure. I mean, there's a lot less pressure for rentals by students, putting 4 students in an older home like on Barnard or whatever, I think you see a good amount of for rent, in that sector. I think there's huge demand for rent on the western part of the county, Chatham County, but not so much on the eastern side of the city, because people, want to get out there. I wondered what Joe thought too in the construction field. I mean, all these houses that are being built, Chatham, Effingham, Bryan, but we've got all this construction from 95 to downtown, but there's going to be nothing once you get west of 95. How are all those people going to get out of all those new apartments in Pooler and all that and get to work at that Hyundai plant? What is going to happen?
Well, some of the bigger challenges are just water and sewer. I mean, and that's
Yes.
Yeah, there's a big fight, I think, in Bryan County now? Bryan
County, Effingham County. There is a bill right now in the Georgia legislature that is going to impact. So I believe that it's going to change some of the rulings on withdrawals from the subfloridian aquifer, which will make it a little bit easier to get water. The other thing is, it takes about 2 years to build a waste treatment plant. I know that Pooler still has capacity. Gardens, Port Wentworth just came up. Their new facility came online, so they have some capacity, and Effingham has some capacity. So you're just going to see the houses going up, the multifamily going up where there's water and sewer available. The smaller developments will, they're on septic tanks and wells. It's a whole different deal, but you can't get the density that is going to be needed. But even without Hyundai, we were slated to grow significantly. Now I think you can look at Effingham County basically doubling in size. I don't think we understand the impact of that.
That's what I agree with you. And the impact onto all of our roads, into the shopping and 16. Yeah. I agree with you. And folks, there's 1 week left in the legislature. And that bill that Joe is referring to is basically where the powers that be, let's call them, and the state economic people are trying to override the wishes of the Bryan County City Council and planners to be allowed to take out water that Bryan County didn't actually want to approve. And so what they're trying to do is give the state, as I understand it, power over the local counties. Now, I don't know that it's going to pass. And there's only a few days left, next week in the legislature, folks. Right. So if that's of interest to you, you might want to talk to your legislator.
Yeah, that's, and who controls the water controls life. I mean, and we've been spoiled. We don't have the issues that other people do. But you'll see some more of that. And if you really want to be unpopular, talk about a regional water and sewer authority.
Yeah, that'll make you unpopular. Very unpopular.
Yeah. So but we all need to push together. Well, not push. We all need to pull together, and we just all need to be rowing in the same direction. So
exactly.
There's some great economic opportunities. I, for one, have been in Pooler now for 20 years. The company just turned 20, and every year I'd be like, up until about 5 years ago, I'm like, it's got to stop in Pooler. Right? They can't shoehorn another apartment in here, another restaurant. You can't even park. And every year they build more.
Right.
And, but there's some DOT infrastructure improvements coming at Exit 104, which are necessary. All the work on I-16 and 95 is going to help the divergent diamond over here at Dean Forest, making things getting easier into the ports. And the ports has done a great job at taking out some of their on-grade crossings, so we don't have as many train interruptions. Yes. They built some overpasses. Used to be the James Mason Intermodal Transfer Facility. Now it's the Mega Rail. So the Mega Rail, and what a lot of people don't see is that the Mega Rail is really, first thing they had to do was increase the load-bearing capacity of the tracks from here to New England. Because if you want to use the Mega Rail, you got to double stack your containers. So once you double stack the containers,
the tracks can't hold, the beds can't.
You got to worry about bridges, and you got to worry about how much weight you're carrying. So there's a lot of things that we've done some pretty good planning on.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about they're actually rail-tired gantry cranes over at the Mega Rail is that they can now build a train that you don't have to build it sequentially. You can put one car over on A number 1, the next car you can put over on B number 6, and you can move 6 wide and all that way long. So there's no more shunting or very little shunting of the trains. You only have to shunt the 4 elements once you've built them.
Right.
So really great increase in efficiencies, and by declaring some areas in what are inland ports, right, is what we're calling them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the contents are still under customs bond.
As far as,
it all helps to move it to where it's going a little bit quicker.
Yeah. As far as small business opportunities too, I mean, I think that whether you want to run a childcare facility or, I mean, there's just a massive, nasty fight going on with the private schools in Savannah right now. Who's getting in, who's not getting in. You've got, just huge demand on these facilities. But like I say, whether you want to clean apartments, run a childcare facility, renovate, there's just going to be big demand because of all this growth. And, Joe, you're right. The state's going to work at that 104 exit, but how are you going to get from 95 to that 104 exit? I think it's a story ahead of us because there is no funding or planning or engineering done yet that's been approved that I understand from 95 to that 104 exit. So,
Lou, thank you for that insight, because that's exactly why we hold the small business.
Right.
We hold this every year is how does all this information affect the small business owner?
And if you're doing hair, you're doing nails. I mean, this, you're talking 15,000 jobs, which is 40,000 jobs alone. I mean, 40,000 people just from Hyundai. Well, they're going to get their hair done and their hair cut and their, oil changed. I mean, there's just a lot that's going on, and it's not all downtown Savannah. The other thing, let's just touch on downtown Savannah. Rhett, what's your, somebody was chatting the other day about, the Ritz-Carlton and all the class 1 office space is turning into hotels. And then someone said, well, we need more restaurants because, you can't get a reservation. And when the Ritz-Carlton opens up and everything, and you start pouring even more hotels. A friend of mine just bought the SunTrust Bank building, I can't say who, with a parking lot for $8.8 million or some small change. And interestingly, they're going to put in one of those like New York City car things, like it lifts the cars up and it can put more cars in faster in the parking. Yeah. But I mean, there's a big change in class 1 office downtown, and all these hotels, but they're saying they need more restaurants,
Well, there's definitely, so I believe that the old Firestone facility at the end of Broughton Street and MLK is about to come up. They're about to finish.
Oh, really?
North Point's finishing over by Homewood Suites, and there's another one in the works over there.
Yeah.
There are a couple of small out parcels that are planned that have been master planned for that, which I think will be restaurants. But we're just seeing, and really one of the great things that we're seeing is, Eastern Wharf. We were over there with the Buddies and Blessings, which is a special needs program. We were giving out some gifts to the participants for the Parade of Lights for the boat parade, and that was just phenomenal to see that downtown square atmosphere captured over on Eastern Wharf, which now gives you incentive to walk all the way past the Marriott to get out there. So North Point Hospitality has done a great job of being friendly to the street. I think as Eastern Wharf develops, we're just going to see, and the good thing is that's stretching us out a little bit, because, if everybody's in one place at one time,
everybody can't stay downtown, and exactly. But with all these hotels coming in, I do think there's going to be demand for a class 1 or class B office space, because everybody can't stay downtown now. I mean, these buildings, what was it? Hunter McLean sold their building and then turned around and had a problem and had tried to relocate. We won't. Joe's smiling. We all know some of the backstory we probably can't talk about. But, trying to relocate from their building where they've been forever downtown. Not so easy.
No, it's not. And that's a lot of people are trapped. Well, people are trapped in their houses, Lou, too, because, not trapped. Not in a bad way, but when you got that 2% loan and now you're out there looking at 6, and on top of that, there's the inventory is not really excessive. So you're like, well, I don't, maybe my house is not quite big enough, but I'm going to stay for a little longer than I would.
People who want to downsize too, unfortunately, we're really having pressure on gentrification. I live on Victory Drive. And behind me, heading north, I'm looking right now at the park out my office window here. Behind me, where you might have called it, previously a predominantly or 100% Black neighborhood, it's changing dramatically. Unfortunately, we're really getting gentrification pressure. But plus, like my handyman who's been with me 6-7 years, and he does all these things. He even works for SCAD and everything, but he can't find a 1-bedroom apartment,
Right.
at any kind of reasonable price. People who are making $15 an hour, $15.50, working like a dog, but they really can't get up into the $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 a month price range. So it's really an issue.
It is, and we don't have to look too far to, I lived in Nantucket, I lived in Aspen, and you end up, the people that work there can't afford to live there.
Oh, absolutely.
And, it becomes, and that actually is detrimental to the vibrancy of a downtown area, because if you're not buying groceries and you're not going to get your wife flowers for her birthday and all those things,
you can't have restaurants without restaurant workers. And and Joe, being from Nantucket, then you brought up the whole immigrant issue, where they would fight about how many immigrants you could bring in for the summer, because otherwise Nantucket cannot function. Well, Savannah, if you put in, another bunch more restaurants, where are these restaurant workers going to come from? And how are they going to get to work when Pooler won't let Cat go to Pooler? So please vote carefully on the Chatham County Commission coming up this year.
Yeah, I grew up in Boston proper, or in South suburban Boston.
I'm from Marshfield Hills, honey. Joe, I'm from Marshfield Hills.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and my son's in Hingham. Yes, honey.
Yeah, my brother's in Hanover, and my sister's still in Quincy. So,
oh my gosh, yes.
We walked to the Red Line and went downtown. So, our school system didn't have yellow buses. If you needed a bus, you got a bus token, and you took the city bus.
You got on the city bus, absolutely, in Quincy. Yes, you did.
I think
I didn't realize you were from there.
Yeah,
I worked for the Quincy Patriot Ledger.
You worked for the Ledger?
I'm afraid to say, yeah. Then I competed against them.
There you go.
We built the Mariner newspapers up and beat the heck out of them on the South Shore, but that's another story.
No, I know the Mariner too. Lou, I love you.
I'm Lou Cutler. I'm Lou Cutler Phelps. I owned the Mariners with David Cutler.
I knew I knew you from somewhere.
That's where it is, honey. Funny. Small world. But anyway, when you look at small business opportunity, renovation, unfortunately, this gentrification, if you can wield a saw, hit a hammer, and paint, and, and do some decor and do some outside landscaping, there's a lot of small business opportunity. But where are our workers going to live, folks? Where are they going to live?
The other thing is, we're in a critical shortage of plumbers right now, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe that.
I can't get a plumber. I mean, I can't, so we refer to our partners as trusted trade partners. We don't call them subcontractors, because we don't use people that we don't trust. And our trusted trade partners are so busy that they're like, hey, listen, I can do your job, but I'm not taking any more jobs.
Okay.
And when I get a bigger job, one of the guys is like, listen, I can't take that job because I have to give that same level of care to, the other general contractors that we work with. So you're seeing, there's a lot of pressure. And if you know of a young person that wants to come out of school and go right into the plumbing field, the electrical field, and if they really want to, work their body, if they want to be a brick mason or lay block, and I mean, we still 90% of our elevator shafts are block. I mean, you can see even when the wood building's going up, you see that tower going up out of block. That's the elevator shaft, and we cannot. I mean, we are struggling here in Savannah. Some of the bigger projects and different contractors, not ourselves, have used up to 5 different masonry companies just to keep the schedule going on these bigger masonry jobs. And
that right there is a great tip.
Yeah.
Very good. Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, this has been great. I'm going to have to step off. I hope you don't mind, Marjorie.
No problem.
Great to see you.
I want to just go over the schedule. Lou, I know you have to leave, but I want to just go over the different speakers that we have coming up. So we've got Dr. Toma, Moncello Stewart, Chase Coward with Small Business Development Center. Michael Owens will be talking about tourism. He always gives a very interesting presentation. Scott Scheidt with Sumitsu talking about cybersecurity, which will make your hair stand on end if you haven't heard how scary that is right now. Joe's going to be talking about construction. Armand's going to be talking about productivity. Then we've got a huge lineup. Victoria Saxon with SBAC talking about the Capital Insights, Bo Bowen talking about the film industry, which is also on fire. Apparently, there was a little lull with the
Right.
strike.
Picking back up, yeah.
Yep. Catalina will be talking about sustainability. Rhett, who's on with us this morning, of course, commercial real estate, the 11th year in a row.
Yes, right. You know,
And the
you
Savannah
were
Business Journal will be writing about this like every day, every other day from this, April 1 to the 30th. And we'll have good links for you to register because, as Marjorie says, there's only 350 spots. Marjorie, there's also lunch after all of this, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's going to be included. This falls under the umbrella of the Mayor's Small Business Week and the Savannah Area Chamber of Commerce. It's
free. It's free,
Yeah.
folks. But not only is it networking and lunch and information. So the Savannah Business Journal will be writing about featuring different people every day to keep your interest going. So sign up.
Yeah. Lou, thank you for being the media sponsor.
Thank you.
Very grateful. Very grateful.
We're glad to be.
Anyhow, be looking in the Savannah Business Journal with the link, and definitely need to sign up. Again, it's free, but you have to register. And as soon as it fills up to 350, it will cut off. So
Great.
Anyhow, Lou, thank you. Rhett, thank you. Joe, thank you for.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.